Alright all, like the title suggests, in today's video I'm just going to give you a little bit of my background. Ain't going to really be much tech in this one. I'm just going to kind of tell you about my childhood a little bit. I'm going to tell you how I got into computers, how it all came about, and the experiences I had with computers and whatnot. This is going to be pretty well just a talking head video, so if you want to memorize it just to listen to it, you're more than welcome to. I was born in West Virginia here. I still live in West Virginia today. Even for the area I come from, I talk with a little bit more of a southern drawl. I got a speech impediment, if you can't tell. Walk a little funny from a birth defect. My one leg's about an inch shorter than the other one. In elementary school, I started out in elementary school. I started a year later than I should have. Started out with crutches and braces on my legs for the first year of elementary school, kind of like the Forrest Gump story. Ended up, by the second year of elementary school, I got away from the crutches, but I still had the braces on my legs. By the third year, I was able to walk without the crutches or the braces on my legs. I thought, I was doing good for myself. I went to 2 or 3 different elementary schools, and the bullying started. I started getting picked on by other kids because I walked funny or because I talked funny. I went through that for a couple of years, got into junior high school. I got my parents involved with it. They went to the teachers and the principals. They said because of the way the school board was set up, there was nothing they could do about it. So my dad said, my boy's going to do what he has to do then. If you can't do nothing, you're going to do what he has to do. Back then, you're talking back in the 80s, it ain't like today. My dad told me, he says, double that fist up, crack them in the nose. Don't quit beating until they quit kicking. I did that for a couple of years. Of course, got kicked out of school and everything, I got the title of being a troublemaker, I got the title of being a fighter, and I wasn't too happy with that title either, because I didn't want to hurt nobody, I didn't want to fight, I fought for my own pride. A lot of kids got picked on, just put up with it, and had a miserable life, had a miserable childhood. Me, I went a different route. I tried fighting back. Still didn't end up with a very good childhood because, every time somebody school new came into the school or whatever they wanted to fight, they came to me for it because I had that title of being a fighter. Sometime within junior high school years, I found video games. I got into playing Nintendo NES, Nintendo 64, Sega Genesis. Yes, I know I'm kind of aging myself here, And then, and I still kind of doing the fighting thing, but kind of trying to get out of the fighting scene as well because I wasn't happy doing that. I never wanted to hurt nobody. I was just protecting myself, standing up for myself. So I got into the video games, started spending less and less time away from people. In my junior high school years, I actually got my first computer, which was a Commodore 64. You didn't have a Windows operating system. You didn't have nothing like that. You had to physically type in what you wanted the computer to do. And everything was ran off of a disk drive. Like I said, yes, I know I'm aging myself in this video, but that's where I came from, I guess I did kind of have somewhat of a normal childhood, junior high. I got into alcohol, discovered women, which wasn't the greatest thing for me. But I did finally make it to high school. In high school, they gave you the option to do half-day schooling for your main classes, for your high school classes. Then you could elect to go to a vocabulary school or special training school for the second half. They had computer repair in the vocabulary school, so I got into that because I did really enjoy the Commodore 64. I wanted to know as much as I could about the computers. I really enjoyed working with the computer. Even though Commodore 64, most people right now, if you boot up a Commodore 64, if you can find one that's bootable, you wouldn't have no idea what to do with it. So, I did a lot of reading the magazines and books and whatnot to learn the code and whatnot to get that thing to do what I wanted it to do. The internet came out, which was through dial-up. Mom and Dad wouldn't put that dial-up connection into the house. They didn't want me tying up the house phone. Back then you couldn't be on the phone and on the internet at the same time they can today. And my mom wasn't willing to give up her telephone. So they wouldn't never let me have internet service at the house. I got into the internet when I was in school and whatnot. I got in some trouble when I was in 11th grade. Ended up out of state and ended up being arrested. Mom and Dad had to sign me out of school. I came back, got married, had a child, got a divorce. I never did go back to finish computer repair. But I've always did it on the side since then. Ever since I went through that 1 year of computer repair, I've been working on computers, been building computers, and you're looking since the late 80s. I think it was like 88, 89 when I did that, something like that. So it's been quite a while ago. Computers back then, a lot of it was just the fact of, malwares, viruses, whatever you want to call them. Your operating system wasn't as robust and up to date as they are today. A lot of people was hacking into computers and whatnot. That's what computer repair did back then. Unlike today, computer repair is a little bit different, but pretty much the same, but a little bit different at the same time. And when I came back, while I was married and whatnot, I did go get my GED. So I do have at least a high school equivalent education behind me. And I've always wanted to go back and finish my computer classes to pursue it as a career. And a family member told me that, if you find something you really enjoy, don't make a full-time job out of it, because then you lose the passion for it. I wish I wouldn't have listened to that advice, so I never followed up with it. After my divorce and whatnot, I went through a few semesters of accounting school. Did follow up on the computer repair. I've always studied on the side. I've always worked on computers on the side, everything like that. Never did finish up the accounting. Like I said, I've always reading on the computers and the repairs, keeping up with the computers and the new technologies, and doing it as a side hustle or a side gig or whatever you want to call it, And I had another pretty hard hit to my personal life, which I ain't gonna get into. Kind of sent me to this bottom of the bottle for quite a few years. I still worked on computers. I still did my side hustle. It's hard for me to hold down a whole full-time job of any kind. I finally got pulled back up by the shoestrings, pulled myself back together. And I got into driving truck. That was ideal for me. By this point in my life, I didn't like hanging around people in real life. I didn't, because I was picking on so much. And even as an adult, I'd find, run across some of the kids I went to school with or whatever, they'd still be picking on me. They'd still be calling me the same names. They'd still be, So I just kind of elected to stay by myself. Truck driving made pretty good money. I was away from home a lot, so it seemed like the ideal place for me to be because I didn't have to deal with many people. Computer repair and whatnot kind of went downhill, but by that time laptops came out. Internet evolved. I could actually still do my research on computers and whatnot, So I did that while I drove truck over the road. After a few years of over the road, I came home. In the meantime, I got remarried. Once I found me a local job, I came home that paid somewhat close to whatever the road money was. Started me a computer repair business, It started doing pretty good. Because of my legs, the doctor actually pulled me out of the truck in 2011. Because I couldn't pass the DOT physical, which is a yearly physical exam you have to be able to hold a CDL license. I was lucky enough to have my computers, have my computer business going. The company I was working for at the time as a driver was looking for a dispatcher. I went into dispatching, which gave me even more experience with computers, as far as spreadsheets and stuff like that goes. And then I was in the gas and oil industry, and then my wife got sick. In 2015, I believe it was. So I quit my job. I was just doing the computers just to take care of her. And they got too much on me. Of course, I was doing my computer repair business out of my home at the time. My brother and sister-in-law at the time said that, that they'd help me with my wife. So I moved in with them. I had to close down the business because they didn't want a bunch of people coming in and out of the house, which I can understand that. They didn't want a bunch of strangers coming in and out of their house to pick up computers or drop off computers. I tried setting it up to continue to work on computers, because I was making decent money at the time. I could pay my bills with it, close to it. To pick up computers or, meet people out, pick them up, take them back to them the same way and whatnot. That didn't work out too well. So I quit running the computer repair business. It kind of killed it. I started a YouTube channel back then while my wife was sick. If you go back and watch my earliest videos, they like 2014, 2015, that's when I started. I figured, I got a lot of knowledge about computers. Maybe it'll help me bring in a little bit of extra money while I'm not working and taking care of my wife. But I kind of got addicted to it. People ask me what game I play, if I am a gamer, what games I play. Right now, my biggest game that I play is YouTube. I really enjoy the filmmaking process. I enjoy the editing process. you know, and everything like that. This is my biggest game that I play right now. While I was taking care of my wife, it was kind of hard to even do YouTube and take care of my wife at the same time. Even with the help of my brother and sister-in-law, it was a full-time job. Got a piece of property. I was tearing an old mobile home off the property to get it set up for a new mobile home at the same time, taking care of my wife, trying the YouTube thing. And just got overwhelmed with everything, so my YouTube kind of took a back seat. You know, I started the channel there after quite a few months of doing it, you know, kind of slacked off and went to nothing. Said I lost my wife September the 30th of 2016. Didn't feel right living with my brother and sister-in-law after that point. Moved in with my mom because I didn't have the trailer set back up on the property yet. Sunk to the bottom of the bottle again, which I still have my business license. I just don't run no work through my business license. I still work on computers for friends and family, or clients that I've picked up over the years that need something every couple of years. They need something done to the computers or something. But I really don't run the computer business anymore either. Which after my wife passed, I went back to dispatching for the company that I was dispatching for. And then layoffs came around. Of course, I was night dispatch. I was one of the first ones to be cut. They didn't like me anyways because I told the customers the way it was. They didn't like it too well. Guess I'm not very good at serving the customer, right? But I like telling them the truth. Big corporations like that don't like telling them the truth. Went working in a warehouse here locally, and they had a job in the office come available. I put in for it. They told me, they looked at my resume and said, hey, you got driving experience. So I'm back to driving truck now. Make sure, you know, I ain't going into all that, you know, but I'm back to driving truck now. Still doing my YouTube. I'm still fiddle-faddling around with the computers, you know. So that's pretty well where I come from. That's pretty well my background in computers. You know, and I talked about my legs, and I talked about the bullying, and I talked about the fighting and whatnot, just to give you an idea of why I don't like being around people. I still to this day, I still don't like big crowds. I still don't, you know, I'm still, what they call it, an introvert. You know, most people is very people friendly. They want to be around people and this and that. But that's pretty well the history of me. That's where I came from. Yes, I'm like most people. I came from a console into computers. Back in the 80s, I started computer repair. That's just a little bit of a background on me, of my history. A little bit of a background on my childhood, a little bit of a background on my computers, where I came from, how I got started, you know. And as far as that family member that gave me that bad advice, you know, and that was bad advice, you know. If you find something you really enjoy, don't be afraid to follow it as a career. I wish I wouldn't have listened to that. I'd probably be a lot better off today. But anyways, that's going to pretty well wrap it up for today's video, guys. Make sure you get out and give me a like on this video if you liked it. Give me a dislike if you didn't. There's that comment section below. I'll get through them every weekend on my live stream. 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here on Saturday mornings in the U.S. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. There's links for that in the description below. Make sure you come out there and follow me if you got one of them too. I won't kill your inbox, but I do give you ideas of videos coming up, new stuff that I got coming in. And if I got to cancel the live show, or if I got to change the time on or whatnot, that's where I normally post that kind of information. But with all that being said, you all have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream.